Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first digital North American FP&A board. It's a very interesting subject today and very timely for the environment, FP&A digital transformation, moving from traditional to the leading stage. My name is Larissa Melnichuk. I'm Managing Director at International FP&A Board and FP&A Trends Group, and I'm so happy to welcome you here. We have a lot of registrations, more than 500, and not only from North America, but majority of you come from North America. Let me very briefly update you on the agenda. So we are going to talk about analytical transformation, practical steps, the power of integrated FP&A, big data and how to move to descriptive and prescriptive analytics, and what would be the role of technology to move to predictive FP&A, predictive FP&A, prescriptive FP&A. And of course, it's all about FP&A skills and how to adjust to this digital era. And we will have opportunity for Q&A session and conclusions and recommendations. Very briefly, I would like to remind you about our journey. So FP&A Trends Group, we started to expand our international FP&A board from London only 4 years ago. As of today, we are 27 cities, 16 countries and 4 continents around the globe. I highlighted our 8 North American chapters. We planned to travel in summertime to all of those cities, but obviously it's a digital journey there, and really we are really fantastic to see our board members in a digital format, not in real life, but hopefully next year we will restart to visit and to attend in person. Just briefly to update you on those interesting subjects that we already discussed. We started exactly 3 years ago in April, and the first chapter was in New York, and then we expanded to 7 cities, to 6 other cities of North US and 1 Canadian city, Toronto. So far, we already had journey, digital journey in the Middle East, we had Asian FP&A board, we had Australian FP&A board, we had UK FP&A board digitally, and now this is the timing for our North American board. Before we start, I really would like to say thank you so much to our partners and sponsors. So SAP, thank you so much for making this possible for us, for your global support. This is one of the world's leading provider of FP&A solution, as you know. And I would like to say thank you so much to our global recruitment partner. With this partner, we collaborate not only in North America, but also in some cities of Europe. Robert Half, one of the world's leading professional recruitment consultancies. Thank you so much, Robert Half, for your global support. And this is the timing for quick introductions today. So I would like to ask all our panelists to switch on the cameras, and it will be a very brief introduction, very quick introduction. Welcome, everyone. First of all, you can see Sumit Dangi. So Sumit is I'm very sorry, CFO and Treasurer at Juros Mutual Group. And also he is former global analytics CFO at HSBC. So experience with very mature analytical companies, and also with those companies that are on the journey. Sumit is a member of our Artificial Intelligence Machine Learning Committee, a member of Chicago FP&A Board, and joining us from Chicago today. So Sumit, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the webinar. Now we have Fernando Schreiner, Director of Financial Planning and Analysis at Gensler. Fernando is very passionate about analytical transformation and in particular integration and the role of technology. And Fernando is a member of our San Francisco FP&A board, and where he presented on a number of occasions, and also he's ambassador for FP&A board in San Francisco as well. So Fernando, welcome. Welcome to FP&A board.
Thank you, Larissa. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Valerie Martin, who is Finance Director at Autodesk. Valerie also joined us from San Francisco, where she presented at our board, and very passionate about developing skills, developing teams. And she presented on this subject, not only at the board face-to-face meeting, but also at some of our previous webinars. And Valerie also is quite passionate about analytical transformation from the point of view of big data and predictive and prescriptive analytics. Valerie, welcome to International FP&A Board.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Chris Chan, who is FP&A Technology Thought Leader from SAP. Chris will emphasize the role of technology on analytical transformation. And we had a lot of interesting discussions with him about what it will involve, and Chris will share today with us the practical steps that are needed for this. And of course, the role of human intelligence and artificial intelligence, how it should be balanced. Chris, you're welcome. And also, I would like to welcome Paul McDonald, Senior Executive Director at Robert Half. Paul been to a number of meetings that we held in North America and is a great supporter of FP&A analytical transformation. And obviously, he will be sharing with us what it involves in terms of skills and people for analytical transformation. Paul, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very quickly, I would like to update you on the housekeeping. So the housekeeping, it will be 1 hour webinar. There will be 1 Q&A session. There will be 4 polling questions, and you will be able to ask questions during during this 1 hour, but possibly you will start to do this when we open Q&A session, but you are welcome to start straight away. You will be able to do this via the chat box, and you can look at your panel and you will see it. And of course, you will be able to connect directly through LinkedIn with our speakers. And at the end of the meeting, there will be an automatic survey. Let me start with a very quick update on analytical FP&A digital journey. So you all can see this model in front of you. FP&A board members, those that attended our face-to-face meetings, you are familiar with this because this is the collective work of so many people around the globe, of the members of FP&A board. What I want to say that this is a journey, and journey that requires some particular steps, collaboration and adjusting people and systems and processes. Very briefly, let me remind you about what is required for the leading stage. Quick on-demand forecasting, this is something that is really needed right now, and real-time multidimensional scenario planning. Everyone is playing scenario at the moment. Integrated FP&A process, it requires leading business drivers, both external and internal. We are talking about driver-based model that combines all your accounting statements. Of course, it's about predictive and prescriptive analytics, how it can enhance your planning process. And we are talking about digital FP&A at this stage. So using artificial intelligence, machine learning, automation. Integrated flexible planning system or BI system and BI system, really important, and it should be self-service and very flexible. And of course, it's real-time collaborative planning as well. Human intelligence goes together with artificial intelligence. It's all about the balance. And of course, leading FP&A business partnering, those important steps. Quick update before we start our first presentation, and let me introduce Sumit Dangi, CFO and Treasurer duals at Mutual Group, former Global Analytics CFO at HSBC. Interesting experience here as Sumit implemented analytics at different stages of analytical maturity. So you're welcome. This is your presentation now. Welcome, Sumit.
Yeah. Thank you, Larissa. So real quick, right? Just moving on. Just next slide. So I'm currently CFO and Treasurer here at Julius Mutual, right? So Julius Mutual, we are the leading jewelry insurance provider. So we are one of the largest specialty insurance provider. We insure about 55% of all retail jewelers in North America, and about almost 800,000 personal customers as well. Prior to this, I've been at HSBC, where I spent last 12 years, most recently in global data and analytics, right? So really passionate about that. And before that, I've worked at Procter & Gamble, KPMG, and some consulting. Next slide. So for me, this is really hit home, right? You'll hear this word quite a bit today, saying, "Hey, we are on." For me, I've actually been part of the journey. In my prior role, I think I started with basic or developing, and by the time I left HSBC, we were between advanced and leading, right? We were doing some really innovative stuff along the way. And when I joined Julius Mutual, I think I've gone back in time because FP&A is a newer function here, and what that so that brings both opportunity and threat, right? In terms of opportunity of really building it however I want it, but there really isn't anything right now, right? The FP&A team here started about 12 or 18 months ago.
Sumit, are you with us? So it looks like the technical problem. Please, organizers, let me know that you can hear me. Yeah. I would suggest you can hear me. Yeah. It looks like the quality, the problem of technical problem with Sumit's presentation. Are you back, Sumit?
Sorry, I think there was some issue. Can you go to next slide?
Absolutely, not a problem at all. It happens in our work. Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, just the one previous, yeah, the challenges one after this. Yeah. So sorry, right? Not sure what was heard, but I've been on the journey from all the way from advanced, and now I find myself anywhere between basic and development. Just going to the next slide, basically, what some of the challenges that we see here is, and this is what I've seen at HSBC, but here I see it even more, where we are producing a lot of information. We are producing hundreds of pages of information, except when I ask the business leaders, it seems like they still want more, right? So there is some kind of disconnect that's happening here. And I don't know if that's something that everyone else is facing or not. The other interesting thing is everyone's talking about a lot of BI and visualization and big data, etc. And that's something that that we just need to build, right? So it's both from building it from FP&A perspective, but also bringing in the right people who can interact with the business partners when they're talking about data governance or data quality, etc. Right? So it's becoming very crucial for us to really build those technical skills. Just going to the next slide. So here is a few bullet points that I just want to note out, right? So first one is a question that I asked here to everyone is, for any headcount that's coming in, hey, what's the ROI? Is this the right tool, etc. So one thing I would absolutely encourage everyone to do is think of what's the ROI of an FP&A team, right? How exactly would you be able to articulate that in a very coherent manner? The second one is, and this is very, very close to my heart, is building the right team. And I have 4 C's there. Bring in people who are curious, who are absolutely able and willing to learn, who can communicate well, extremely relentless customer focus, but also courageous to step up, right? I encourage everyone to think in my team, and I encourage everyone here as well, to think of themselves as business people who are doing finance or FP&A, and not the other way around, where we lead with finance and then we are interacting with business, because then you end up creating 2 different silos. The next few, the only other point I would add here is be comfortable in not knowing, right? I think as FP&A professionals, we are all quite familiar and comfortable with scenario planning, etc. And then getting into my next slide, right? COVID's actually made it even more important to be just uncomfortable with the uncertainty, right? Overall, FP&A's importance, right? Think of it. Are we able to articulate whether it's increasing or decreasing? And I know I have a very strong bias saying it's absolutely increasing. Think of the starting point, right? We are all focused on, and depending on the industry, people have been mostly focused on either a P&L or balance sheet, but cash flow has actually become even more important, right? And finally, one additional thing, how we are looking at it is we actually have very, very strong balance sheet and financial and what I would call a starting position. That to me is, COVID's almost become a huge opportunity for us to accelerate ourselves ahead of any competitors, right? So we are doubling down on certain things, etc. And I truly believe that COVID will be that pivotal moment that will accelerate differentiation between winners and otherwise. So think of how can FP&A function really truly not just enable it, but actually lead that journey, right? During and post COVID. I think that's what I had, Larissa. Happy to take any comments that you have.
Thank you so much, Sumit. Very valuable experience and opportunity to work and experience different levels of maturity in organizations. And thank you for sharing with us the steps that are needed to move to the analytical stage, to different analytical stages. I would like to ask Chris to comment on this. So what would be your commentary on this presentation, Chris?
So great presentation, Sumit. So my name is Chris Chan from SAP. I definitely agree with you on the skills of FP&A teams need to evolve, especially as I see that our technology is evolving to help us plan better as well. So we can't just be spending our time building pivot models and pivot tables and models in Excel and using all resources on the manual labor. With technology enabling us to do things much faster with higher accuracy, FP&A teams need to invest in team members with analytical skills, with that can bring more strategic insights to the table, and members that can really tell the story behind the numbers in a meaningful way. That way, rather than seeing technology as an obstacle, we can also see it as a way to reach our goals and help our team support the business better.
Thank you so much for your commentary, Chris. Thank you, Sumit, for your presentation. Now it's a timing for us to have some feedback from our participants. And I would like to launch this first polling question. We would like to understand where you are right now at your analytical journey, at your digital journey. I'm launching poll, and you will be able to start voting straight away. Where are you? Are you at the basic state of your analytical maturity, at the developing state, at defined, advanced, leading? So please, can you vote? more than 40% of you voted now. We continue to do this. I'm about to close this poll, and I would like to ask Sumit to comment on this. So I'm closing the poll right now. More than 70% of you voted. I'm sharing the results. And this is where we are now. Basic state, 14%. The majority of you are at the developing state, 22 at defined, 12 at advanced, and 2% at leading state. So Sumit, what would be your commentary on this?
Oh, I guess I feel lucky to be with amongst friends, right? Because I was thinking that I moved from advanced to developing or basic. It's just good to see that I have company. But the other thing is, as you're developing your journey, I would say there are specific elements, right, that you could potentially pick up specifically around business partnering. And I would say, if anything, right, that's one thing that you should, and overall skills, that's one thing you should actually start sooner than later.
Thank you so much. From my side, I would like to say that no surprises here. We did this exercise in 27 cities and 16 countries around the globe. Very similar result, but definitely with this incredible environment of uncertainty, we have to move closer to advanced and leading. Thank you to all of you for giving your feedback. And thank you so much, Sumit, for your commentary on this. I'm hiding the results. And now this is a timing to look at some particular aspects of leading analytical stage and how to move to the digital FP&A. So integrated FP&A process is incredibly important for this. And I just highlighted the part of leading state that are responsible for this. And of course, the system, a flexible FP&A system, which is self-service and really easily managed by FP&A team. It's a huge enhancer. I've seen situations when the companies could move to the next analytical stage only through implementation of system. And of course, it's all about real-time collaborative planning. So the next presentation, very practical aspect, Fernando Schreiner, who is FP&A director at Gensler. And the subject is integrated FP&A. Fernando, you're welcome. The microphone is yours.
Thank you, Larissa. So I work for Gensler, being with Gensler for 4.5 years. Gensler is a design and architecture firm. We have a little over 5,500 employees operating in over 126 countries with clients over 126 countries. And we've been like 54 plus years in the business, and we operate in 10 regions, 50 offices around the world in 26 practice areas. Next slide, please. So when we started our integrated FP&A journey, I would say like 4.5 years ago at Gensler, we considered addressing 3 elements. So we wanted to address the technology innovation that was required, the process redesign, as well as the new capabilities within the FP&A organization overall. So today I'm going to talk about like business challenges, benefits that we realized as we went through our journey, and key lessons learned from our overall journey towards integrated FP&A, especially from a technology standpoint. So the planning model that we used to use was 4.5 years ago was like Excel based. For a company, as I said, with 10 regions, 50 offices around the world, and 26 practice areas that cover our entire kind of a portfolio at Gensler. So needless to say, right, with an Excel model to cover that type of organization, the model was not robust enough to support our needs and was not scalable whatsoever. Next slide, please. So what was some of the business challenges, right? So in some of those things, I bet that probably very familiar to with a lot of you. So like, for example, we have very dissociated models in Excel. It's like we had a very poor interface with our existing infrastructure, such as our ERP system, our HR system, our CRM solution, etc. Also, we are limited to 1 fiscal year planning. So it didn't enable us to do things like, for example, rolling forecasts like we have today because the technology was not there for us. Require a lot of maintenance, both from the IT group as well as from my team in financial plan and analysis. We didn't have integration with cash flow model, so we had, like for example, our treasury team and controllership drive a 5-year cash flow model offline also in Excel. We lacked on things that, like for example, automation allocation engine to handle things like corporate overhead allocations in a more effective and efficient manner. Manual depreciation, right, for things like calculation across different asset categories, such as computer and leasehold improvements across our 50 offices, IT equipment, etc. Workforce planning, like Gensler is a professional service organization, so the workforce planning overall was not robust enough to address things like leave of absence status, terminations, transfers across regions and offices, furloughs, employees with reduced hours, etc. One very important thing that we didn't have as well, what if scenarios. Like for example, professional service organization, we could not apply different KPIs with multiple headcount assumptions for revenue forecast purpose. We didn't have a reporting functionalities like a drill down functionality. So if you wanted to get a better understanding of the underlying details and assumptions that people had used for each one of our planning cycles, we couldn't do so. Too much time spent on reporting, less on analytics. And as I said, all those challenges, right, are probably very, very familiar, and you have faced it at some point in time in your journey, if you will, that I just mentioned. Next slide, please. So we're not only trying to address FP&A pain points, right? We realized that in order to drive that faster and more effective planning processes, we had to look into driver-based planning and partner with other finance organizations, such as like the treasury team, as I mentioned earlier, to enhance the overall cash flow modeling, as well as the tax group for cost allocation transfer pricing. So we knew that in order to avoid scope creep from personal experience, we had to stick to the plan to avoid going through some of the challenges that I personally had gone through in the past by not sticking to the plan. So this is extremely important, especially if you have a very tight budget. So for instance, we knew exactly what the business challenges were that we were trying to address, and a set goal that we went into live. We wanted to sunset the legacy Excel model that we had. We didn't want to run those things in parallel. So what we said as the very first phase in the ability to sunset our regional Excel model, we wanted to do workforce planning, we wanted to do revenue planning, we wanted operating expenses across our entire chart of account structure, we wanted to do capital expenditures with different asset categories, as I said, such as computer, furniture, leasehold improvements across all our offices, etc. Scenario planning. Sandboxes is a good example. Like for instance, our key stakeholders are looking for a solution, better technology that would allow them to build not only their base plan, but also best case and worst case scenarios. And of course, dashboards for visualization. So a few months later, we did this in about 6 months. Next slide, please. What were the benefits realized, right, about addressing the journey, if you will, from a technology standpoint? So that definitely allowed Gensler to be self-reliant in the support of the tool rather than depending on external consultants all the time for improvements. We achieved, for example, greater financial and operation integration against a longer horizon, not only the fiscal year constraint that we had in the past. We improved our modeling and simulations to help develop and manage like contingency plans. For instance, like Sumit was saying and talking about the COVID-19. So my team has generated several financial scenarios over the last few months, over the last 6 months during the pandemic for our board to help with the decision-making process that would not only have been possible to do in a timely manner in the past with the original Excel model that we had. Easier translation, right, from detail to aggregate to detail, if you will. So in other words, we have complete transparency now into the overall planning process for the firm, which we did not have before. That way, my team and I, within FP&A at a firm-wide level, if you will, we are in a much better position to engage with the end users and make sure we are articulating our questions correctly. And improve trust, right, throughout the management team with one process, clear accountability, and commitment to the right priorities. Next slide, please. So we are talking about a journey, right? So integrated planning in order. So I'd like to mention the importance of implementing solutions that are very scalable. So we knew exactly what our scope was for the first phase, as I said early on, which lasts, once again, 6 months. But our integrated planning journey was a long one. We knew that from day one. So it's very important to continue innovating and adapting to different circumstances and scenarios. So as we speak, as an example, we're looking to ways of integrate our backlog that sits in our ERP system with the sales pipeline available in our CRM solution. At the same time, we plan to integrate our FP&A solution with the HR system to streamline the overall workforce planning. Same goes for real estate. As I said, we have 50 offices around the world. So the fact that rent is our second largest expense after people like to improve both the planning and analytics when it comes to real estate. So last but not least, on the next slide, please. What are the key lessons learned? Getting from vision to execution. What I would say is that don't separate vision and execution as though they are two different things. So as you develop your vision, I would say no matter what stage your vision is in, continually align your actions with it. And don't send your vision like aside once you've moved it to another step. I would highlight 3 pillars of success: process, technology, and people. So what I always say, and my team and I, we talk about this all the time, it does not matter if you have the best technology, the best software in the world to run your budget and forecast cycles. If you don't have a pretty streamlined financial planning process, most likely you won't be able to get to a world-class FP&A. Avoid scope creep. Stick to the plan once again. As I said earlier on, our projects with huge scope and very long time frame usually fail. So I highly recommend from a personal experience that you consider phase-in approach. For example, break down your overall vision into multiple phases, a smaller scope for each phase, and be laser focused to get each phase done on a budget and on time. Business partnering. Sumit talked about this point as well. So important to work with your entire organization and get buy-in as you go through your journey. And last but not least, I would mention that implement a continuous improvement approach. I cannot stress enough the importance of being constantly innovating. Look at ways to streamline the planning process to enhance the technology capabilities. Thank you. This is it, Larissa. Back to you.
Thank you, Fernando. Thank you for sharing your story. Obviously, a system, this is such a huge enhancer for analytical transformation. Valerie, what would be your commentary on this? What is your experience with system and integration?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of things that resonated for me. One thing actually in common was more about connective planning also helps with one of the challenges we find in finance about we're working in silos, but how can we partner together to get the most efficient outcome? And I think you're spot on, Fernando, and I think Sumit, you mentioned it, is about how can we actually limit the scope, be focused, stick to plan, and avoid scope creep to get you where you need to go. So definitely a good presentation, Fernando.
Thank you so much, Valerie. And I would like to ask Sumit to comment on this as well. So your journey, the importance of integration for you. Sumit, you're welcome.
Yeah, I think this is extremely important, right? One thing that Fernando touched upon is the scenarios, right? Like we are all getting super used to working in scenarios and really developing an end-to-end integrated plan, right? As against balance sheet versus cash flow, working off of different assumptions. I think that's been a huge learning in COVID, right? And Fernando, looks like you and your team have done a fantastic job basically throughout this. So great presentation.
Thank you, Sumit. Thank you so much, Fernanda. Now this is a good timing for the next polling question. We would like to hear from you how at the moment you are using your collaborative technology, not Excel. Excel can be collaborative technology. So what is the best description for your journey, for your situation at the moment? Do you currently use a modern collaborative technology for FP&A? Please vote. Yes, we do. No, we don't, but we plan to implement in the next 12 months. No, we don't. We plan to implement in the next 2-3 years. No, we don't, and we don't have any plans. Excel is enough. Yeah. So please, can you continue to vote? I can see that more than 50% of you voted. A few more seconds. Please continue to vote. Another 10 seconds, and I'm about to close the polling question. So I'm closing the polling question and I'm sharing the results. Yes, 39% of you, yes, it's fantastic result, almost 40%. 26% no, we don't, but plan to implement in the next 12 months. No, we don't plan to implement in the next 2-3 years. And 17% of you consider that Excel probably is the good technology for FP&A. Thank you for sharing. Fernando, what do you think about this? Any surprises?
Not really surprised. Very interesting results. Like I was talking about, when we look at going through your journey itself, and you look at technology as one of the three pillars to address, the companies usually face many challenges, right? And that's why you find people in different phases of that journey when trying to address those three elements that I mentioned in my presentation. For example, traditional budgeting culture that we have, data quality, for example, is a big deal. Talent pool, having the right skills and the skill set in place to go through the journey. Outdated planning technology, lack of investments. So all those elements contributed to put a particular company in different stages of that FP&A journey towards integrated FP&A.
Thank you, Fernanda. Thank you for sharing and commenting, and thank you so much to all of you for sharing your journey, your experience with us. We continue our journey. We continue to look at different steps, moving to the leading analytical stage. We already mentioned the importance of identification where you are at this maturity model. We were talking about importance of one platform for integration, importance of drivers as well, because drivers allow us top-down and bottom-up plan integration. But now we are going to look more closely at how to use leading internal and external business drivers for FP&A, because this is one of the ways to go to the big data journey, how to use drivers from big data for FP&A. And of course, it's all about predictive and prescriptive analytics and using elements of digital FP&A, artificial intelligence, machine learning, automation. Valerie Martin, a finance director at Autodesk. Valerie, this is your microphone, and you're welcome to share your journey with us.
Absolutely excited to be here. So good morning and good afternoon for some of you. I'm super excited to talk about big data and finance, what it means from descriptive to prescriptive. Quickly about me, I've been in the tech industry for close to 2 decades, and I started in the beauty industry years ago as a cost accountant. I'm super proud to work for a company that makes anything. And what that means is we worked in different industries. We help make cars and buildings more efficient, and we actually help with movies to make them more emotional, impactful. And we're global. We are a company that actually started in '82, so we come from a long business model transition recently, where I am excited to talk about our journey. Next slide. So when we talk about, before we get to data analytics and what is prescriptive, once again, it's important to understand is data, and big data has evolved over the years into FP&A. Traditionally, we had data where it was very simple, but now with real-time data, we have data that are actually structured, not structured, and it's really challenging anyways for FP&A to actually manage all this to our traditional tools like Excel. So one thing that's important to know is it's not the quantity of data that we're managing, but how to use it and what we want to do with it. So the big data is our reality, and how can we actually get the most insights out of it? Another thing actually is when you look at data transformation, and I could apply that to Autodesk, where we come from a more shipping boxes and licenses to now the cloud, we have to go through a data transformation to eventually get to a way where we could actually understand business impact and start making scenarios. And this is a way of, like, for us, the way we did it is we actually created a mindset change, and we created a path and a journey to get there. And the importance to have a project and get everybody aligned of what success looks like, it's a critical part of a data transformation. We're currently in probably year 2 to a longer journey, but like Sumit and Fernando mentioned, it's all about the journey, and different processes are at different level, and how do we get there? And then if you look at the future, most of us, depending on the size of our companies, we're kind of ready to adopt all these tools. It could be BI, it could be, you know, different types of analytical capacity. It's where do we do with the data? We're in a great opportunity in finance to really make an impact. And also those impact evaluated ad analysis will help us a more financial impact. I think the key here for me, based on my experience, is really like not rush into it. One step at a time, and just identify where you're trying to do and limit your scope when you start. So don't start too big, just start more focused. So next slide. So when you look at data, there's different types of data, and you're probably all familiar with descriptive to prescriptive, where it's low value to high value, more simple to more complex. But the way that we all use today is we all use a description and diagnosis analysis to answer the question, what happened and how do it happen? And I see that originally in my quarterly business reviews or P&L, that we actually have a snapshot in time, and you see your quarter-over-quarter, year-over-year average sums. That's basically where we start, and it's the basis of our analysis. As we move to predictive is kind of the same concept, but we add some algorithm to it to help a relationship with the data. And one example where we focus a lot of time within our company at Autodesk is around sales commission forecasting. So how do you take a fleet of X employees around the world with different industries that we hit on, the three that I mentioned, and how do you predict how you're going to land on sales commission to close that impact a lot of finance function and a lot of business impact on close, and also earning if you don't do it correctly. So we've done a lot of tools where we add a lot of algorithm where instead of doing it bottoms up, where we had all our finance partner kind of predict where we're going to land, we're able to do it tops down with some trends and patterns that we're able to actually to forecast the same output if you do both scenarios in parallel, where we actually found a lot of type efficiencies where we could answer the question, what could happen? And we were as precise, and we saved a lot of time where we could focus on more value add analysis. And the last one is the one that's more complex. Prescriptive analysis will answer scenarios, what should I do? And this is a concept where, you know, it's the same concept of predictive, but you add your machine learning, your AI. Currently at our company, we have different types of processes that we're trying to see how this would work. We're actually exploring currently sales commission at the next level with AI. And we're actually exploring our headcount planning where we haven't got it there. Like you mentioned, it's a journey, but something that we're exploring. I'm interested to hear more about it in the next couple of months. So now that we understand the data analytics, let's move to the types of data that we actually could look at. So next slide, Larissa. So if you look at the next slide, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but this is a Gartner model of different types of analytics that really start with our basic one to our more complex one. And I would say once we actually choose what type of analytics we need to do, you need to be very cautious of what the maturity of your level is and what you're trying to hope for. Are you trying to figure out insights, high sights, or if you're going to try to get foresight, and where the manual interaction could be? So it's not enough to understand the data, but it's how do you get there and get familiar to do is where it's going to be super important based on my experience. So let me walk you through something that I'm working on today, and I walk you through the steps. I'll give you concrete examples. Currently, I'm actually obviously in FP&A, but I support a team of basically go-to-market strategy where they actually spend marketing dollars for the company in different industry. So what I've done as a simple task, me and my team, is we create a simple BI tool where you have your budget, you have your indicators, you kind of have reminder to the exec if you're going to be over and above budget or below. And for me, this is a good example of descriptive analysis. It just reflects and monitor where you're at. If you start putting some groupings and drill downs, and if you actually look at correlations from prior quarter to see trends, this helps you answer the question, okay, why something happened, and that's your diagnostic analysis. This is where most of the company, where we're at. And you can see with the graph, there's still some human judgment. But the tricky one where you actually say, okay, so my problem statement is how can I streamline marketing efforts? How can I predict things that happen? Where can I put my dollars to certain campaigns to make sure they're the most efficient so I could actually get more sales leading top line? So what we started to do is pull data from different places like Salesforce for these close, social media, campaign information, website engagement, customer behavior. And if you add that all together and do regression, I was able to predict which leads and which customer was more productive. And this is where I was able to get to predictive analysis, and that was super useful. Now, the next step is how do you get it to actually the next level and you add more AI. So I'm at a point right now in this process to be able to try to help influence our leadership to answer a question of which dollar do I put in which campaign, which product should I put it on, which one has the most profit. And if you look at these questions, they're all questions of what should I do? And this is where the scenario of having my BI tool and adding these models and adding maybe a user interface on top of it to run me what if scenarios will able to bring me there. And this is where we're at and focusing a lot of energy, especially during this uncertain times, to how to predict how our dollar could get to the farthest way. So this is where I think finance or FP&A has a great opportunity to get there. So next slide is how do you do that? So I would say if you recommend something, I would say start by just use a case, like just use a business user case. I would say most of our companies have some sort of prescriptive analysis, either in Uber drivers or transportation on shipping. But if you look at finance, if you have a complex Excel model, this is your good first way to start. And once you have this, I would say there's 3 questions you need to know or understand, depending on where you're at on that process. So first of all, is your organization ready to actually start doing different type of analysis on how to move it forward with technology? So the recommendation I would do is make sure you have a vision, a clear vision that says, in our case, we're saying, okay, we need to be insightful, innovative, and digital as a finance team. And that's the vision that our talent and our business are making us accountable for. Make sure we have the right stakeholders, and the sponsorships are not necessarily finance. It also becomes the business because they have a stake in it, and also makes IT to make sure they have the right support to support our tools. And also depending on your budget readiness of where you're at. And I say the mindset shift is really, really important. So our talents are there. We need to make sure they understand what they've done in the past of compiling data. How do they bring it to the next stage of insights and actually at a point where they could prescribe analysis? The next question is, what do you do? Do you do a small model or big model? Would you do it with which scope? Do you start with credit and collections? Do you start in which department in finance? I would say just identify proof of concept. Just make sure you understand which type of analysis you want to do, what's actually the value add, and make sure that once you have that, is there a trade-off of making sure you have a self-service platform or any touchless transaction you could automate while you're at it. And last but not least, I would say, make sure that you access the data you need. Like for us, the concept of having everything in one data platform and simplify our hierarchies that we had built like 30 years ago, it's a journey, but it actually brings a lot of benefit in the long term. So understand your source of data, make sure it's connected with your connected planning and forecasting, and just make sure that you focus on the right ROI. So that's my recommendation on implementing the right solution for your business and what you're trying to do. Thank you, Larissa.
Thank you so much, Valerie. Thank you for sharing your practical experience with us. Sumit, obviously, you're a member of our Artificial Intelligence Machine Learning Committee, and you implemented some really advanced tools for finance FP&A. What would be your key takeaways on this session?
So first of all, right, it's amazing that finance sessions are now geared towards talking about big data, etc. Right, and it's just amazing to see the journey. Couple takeaways, right, and they're all related. The model versus full solution that's actually up here on the screen. This is the POC, or do we want to call it the MVP approach? I think I just absolutely love that, right? Generally, many finance people are trained as accountants, so they always go for perfection and sometimes not comfortable with the versions, right? And wait until the end. And what Valerie highlighted here was, hey, let's just do a POC, right? Let's just learn, and then we'll figure out if it's fit for purpose or not. So I think that's actually just amazing. And the other thing was this perfection versus speed, right? Where do you wait for the full solution, or do you actually just go for speed, and then you become the innovative bit, right, and figure out what works. So I think overall a phenomenal presentation, something that we are all getting more and more comfortable with as financial and FP&A professionals.
Thank you so much, Sumit. Thank you, Valerie. Now we would like to hear your feedback. We would like to understand what are the biggest barriers, what the biggest challenges at your analytical or digital journey. We are launching our thought polling question. You'll see it in a moment. And what are the biggest challenges for you right now? Is it talent and skill set? Is it culture? Is it technology? Is it data? please choose one of the most important for you. Please continue to vote. More than a quarter of you already voted. We continue. What is the biggest barrier? What is the biggest challenge for FP&A analytical journey at the moment? A few more seconds, and I'm about to close the poll and to share the results. So I'm closing the poll and I'm sharing the results with you. So you can see that, interesting, it's quite even result, isn't it? 29% think that talent and skill set are the biggest barriers. 29% say that culture, it's still very traditional. 20% say that not enough technology and data quality is a problem. Valerie, what would be your key takeaways on this?
Sorry. Can you hear me? Yeah. So I'm not surprised. I think that it's a combination of all of it. I think you need all of those four to make it happen. And I do think there's challenges in all of it, either existing talent or new talent going on board. The culture is a key one of making sure we have the right mindset. Technology is definitely something that we need to incorporate, but understanding the why, the what, and the platform that we need. And obviously, you know, my passion about data. So definitely data and getting data quality is another key component. I'm not surprised to see that it's equally across these four buckets.
Thank you so much. And Fernando, what would be your takeaways? Do you feel the same, that we still have these barriers, these challenges?
I agree. I think, and actually, I'm not surprised with the results, how well balanced it's being distributed, but also mention lack of investment sometimes, and not only the traditional budgeting culture and the challenge that some firms have, but lack of investment. Sometimes people don't start their journey, if you will, because they don't have the budget. But that's why I said also earlier on my presentation, that it's not only about the investments on the right technology. A lot of times the journey has to do with redesigning your own process, adapt and continue innovating based on the circumstances and scenarios. So process is a big thing as well as part of the analytical journey.
Thank you, Fernando, for your commentary. Thank you so much to all of you for sharing your feedback with us. And now let us continue to look at the leading stage and what is required to move this leading analytical stage. So we already mentioned predictive and prescriptive analytics. It's so important for predictive FP&A. Also, we touch base on the importance of driver-based planning, how it's important for integration, not only horizontal, but vertical as well, top-down, bottom-up. Digital FP&A becomes quite a huge buzzword at the moment, and more companies start to experiment with this. And of course, once again, importance of integrated flexible solutions, real-time collaborative planning. But remember, it's important for us to remember about human intelligence and artificial intelligence balance. So Chris Chan, FP&A technology thought leader at SAP, is going to talk about the role of flexible modern technology and how to move to predictive FP&A state. You're welcome, Chris.
All right, thanks, Larissa. So my name is Chris Chan from SAP, and today we're going to talk about FP&A technology and moving towards predictive planning. I'm very passionate about this topic because every day in my job, what I do is I examine the intersection between financial planning analysis and technology at SAP. And we really help our the companies we work with our flagship planning solution, and we help them become better partners of the business. And what I'm seeing currently is analytics and finance really having to go hand in hand for strategic decision support. And especially because of our situation right now is so dynamic, and the need to be more analytical is more important than ever. So let's go to the next slide, Larissa. Yeah, thanks, Larissa, for the opportunity to speak on this panel. And we've actually partnered with FP&A Trends to conduct a survey with over 300 finance execs recently, and many of you on this call today were a part of that survey. And what we're seeing is, we all know about driver-based planning. Many of us are using advanced analytics, but we're seeing that what the trend is that the best-in-class companies are leveraging AI and machine learning to help forecast and plan better. And so in this study here, we can see that 30% of the best-in-class are already leveraging AI and machine learning in their plans today. And 30% more here are planning to use it in the upcoming years. So the question now is, why do we see predictive planning being the future, and why are we seeing more and more best-in-class companies leveraging machine learning and AI? Next slide, please. So here, in today's world of economic uncertainty, companies are seeing more of a need for automation and advanced analytics, because forecasting cycles have just gone from monthly to weekly to even daily. And for example, here, if we go to the next slide, I have seen a company work with SAP, Graphic Packaging International, that actually reduced their sales forecasting times from 25 days to 5 days, just because they had analytical data at their fingertips in real time. So you should now be expecting automation and advanced analytics to be built into your solution and not just an ad. So you might tell me relying on predictive planning tools and using machine learning to do our work is risky, and you might tell me that you don't have enough clean enough historical data to start using machine learning. What I want to challenge you today is to start thinking about the long-term benefits and spending time to plan strategically and investing in technology. Like Valerie, Fernando, they all mentioned, this is a journey, and no matter what stage you are at, we can move towards the future. I actually read a McKinsey article lately that illustrates a really good example. So let's say a manufacturing company, the forecasts are regularly off by 30% or more, okay? And as a result, their planning teams don't trust their numbers and they rely on their gut instincts. So by ignoring their centrally calculated predictions, they further limit the good data they could have to develop their market strategies. So they're a quick workaround, and not taking the time to establish a baseline is just hindering them from the long-term benefits. And by building clean, accessible data that can be combined with machine learning and can save you time and reduce errors in the long run. So here it is. Like, we don't want to be struggling for survival. We want to help the business win. To summarize this point, advanced analytics can help reduce hiring tons of people to do manual reports, reduce forecasting and reporting times, and ultimately help you build credibility for your business. So another example here, if we go to the next slide, please, Larissa. So here's another example that we worked with at SAP. First, with Ness. So they're a nutrition tech company based in America, and they were able to move from using dozens of spreadsheets to a cloud-based planning solution. And what they did was they turned their 40+ financial reporting package and reduced it down to 15 pages just due to the accessibility of financial data. And they moved and they integrated it with their ERP solution, and they did this all and deployed it within 3 months. So I want to challenge you today to take the baby steps in making your company more operational efficient and more productive. And so in the next slide, we'll talk about here is how, the 9 practical steps. So here we have the 9 analytical steps for analytical transformation based on the maturity model. And it's probably not surprising. If we look at the first one here, it says analytical culture. It shouldn't be surprising, because as the example I outlined from the article before, if an FP&A team doesn't trust their numbers and goes by gut instincts, they're setting themselves up for a lot of challenges ahead. And so building that culture and those teams with those skill sets is very important. And next is the data quality. You need clean data to start looking at the variances and aligning plans and identifying those key drivers. And this is really reflected in the next 3 steps here, where we have plan alignment, we have building a driver-based model, and finally implementing a system that can help you automate your planning. And this is really where technology comes in to help you accelerate your analytical transformation. You need a cloud-based solution that can do it all. You need it to align your plans, automate your reporting, your predictions, and ultimately help you with business intelligence, help you tell better stories behind your data, and help you make sense of all your data to your business partners. So you don't want to be just running a bunch of apps loosely fit together. In the long run, you need it all in one place to have true benefits. So next we have scenario planning, where in spreadsheet terms, we might just call it as the save as button, right? And but in a full-fledged planning solution, you should be able to do versioning. You should be able to compare multiple plans, clearly identify which version your team is working on, and really consolidate all the best ideas into one version and clearly be able to identify which one it is. So lastly, here we have decision making, and I want to bring up the point again of in the beginning of my presentation, where analytics and finance really need to go hand in hand to be able to convey what our findings back to the business meaningfully. So in our last slide, our second last slide here, Larissa, if we can go next one. I want to just bring up one last use case that we worked with at SAP, Airbus. Because they underwent analytical transformation, they were able to streamline their planning processes, and they were able to reduce the time spending to gather financial data by 90%. So for example, if this was 1 month, it would be down to 3 days, which is a huge testament to how analytics and automation can really change a business. So to summarize, let's look at the future. Next slide, please, Larissa. So machine learning guided forecasts plus human intelligence equals confident decisions. Let's think about that for a second. This means that AI and machine learning go hand in hand with FP&A. So we're not looking to eliminate the need for humans and our expertise. In fact, human intelligence to make those strategic decisions is more important than ever. And we need that human expertise and machine learning to help us save time and reduce those human biases to make more confident decisions. So let's end off the last slide. I want to end it off with something inspirational here. So an ancient philosopher, Sun Tzu, once said, opportunities multiplies as they are seized. So if you're looking for the right solution and the right time to seize the opportunity, see it multiply, I say that's right now. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you, Larissa.
Chris, thank you so much for such an inspirational, insightful presentation. Paul, I know that you are really interested to see how you're really interested to share with us the latest trends and developments in FP&A talent. But what would be your key takeaways to this session, where we're talking about artificial intelligence, machine learning, predictive, prescriptive, but in reality, we have so many traditional business and finance analysts. So what would be your key takeaways?
My key takeaway is that unrehearsed, we all came back with talking about people. And, you know, people, technology are going to make our world at FP&A a lot easier. But as specialists in people for many years, personally, I've been involved in since I graduated with an accounting degree, I've been involved with the people business for 40 years. And today we're seeing the need for business analysts, data analytics, critical thinking skills, as I'll talk about in a moment. It's just amazing to see how Valerie, Sumit, Fernando, and Chris are all talking about people in one form or another to make our lives easier and to meet our goals.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you for your insights. Fernando, would you like to comment on this as well? What is your experience?
Sure. Very good presentation, Chris. I would say that in addition to, and I completely agree with Paul as well on the people side, I'd say that in addition to the technology role that Chris just talked about, I like to stress the importance of having good master data governance in place as well in order to address the data quality that Valerie was talking about. So as discussed in the predictivity phase, you expect to run analytics on historical data and identify patterns, and these patterns can be used to predict what might happen tomorrow. So having the right technology in place that Chris was talking about is essential, right? So to be able to accomplish those things in a much more effective and efficient manner. So for instance, one could have a very streamlined budget and forecast process, but it does not necessarily translate into excellent customer satisfaction unless you combine that streamlined process with world-class technology. So for example, I recall that our FP&A team at Gensler used to take several days to turn around many ad hoc analysis from our CFO before implementing a better and more scalable technology. So they all come in hand. It's like it's process, it's technology, people, like those three pillars of success.
Thank you, Fernanda. Thank you, Chris. Now we would like to hear from you, the next and the last polling question. And it's all about your journey and how you use or intend to use artificial intelligence, machine learning for FP&A. We would like to understand what is happening in your organization right now. To what extent would you say your organization uses artificial intelligence, machine learning in finance or FP&A? Please start to vote. No artificial intelligence, machine learning being used in finance, FP&A. Plan to use artificial intelligence, machine learning in the future. Some artificial intelligence, machine learning used in finance, FP&A. Yes, it's being used in finance and FP&A. Please continue to vote. Almost 60% of you. A few more seconds before I close the poll and share the results with you. Just a few seconds, and I'm about to close the poll and to share the results with you. You can see that more than half of you have no usage of artificial intelligence, machine learning. 35 plan to do this in the near future. 10% of you use just some of artificial intelligence and machine learning, and 3% of you already started to use it. Yeah. So, Chris, what would be your commentary on this?
Yeah, thanks, Larissa. It makes a lot of sense here right now because many companies are still in the spreadsheet world or using multiple applications to do their planning, and not every organization has that capability to move. But as the core message of my presentation is really to begin taking those baby steps and thinking about investing in those solutions that have planning, self-service analytics, and machine learning. So you don't have to rely so much on the expert data scientists and really realize long-term benefits. So yeah, really great feedback here. And I also encourage everyone on this call to look at the recent study done by FP&A Trends on more planning analysis topics.
By the way, we will send the link to the results of our surveys in our thank you letter, together with recording of this session and with the presentation. So you'll see by yourself what is happening. But also we have artificial intelligence machine learning committee where we look at the case studies every time. And amazing that the number of companies started to experiment. It's increasing from month to month. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your feedback with us. I'm hiding the results. And now the time for final session before a Q&A and conclusions and recommendations. Again, we are looking at the leading analytical stage, and obviously it's all about human intelligence and artificial intelligence balance. We don't believe in that in FP&A everything will be replaced by machines. It's just not possible, but it's about releasing time for valuable analysis. And of course, it's about leading FP&A business partnering model, where teams, FP&A teams working as business partners, but also they are business partners with other stakeholders in business. Human element of FP&A analytical transformation. And now, Paul McDonald, Senior Executive Director at Robert Half, with his presentation about the skills at the time of great change. This is your microphone now, Paul. You're welcome.
Thank you, Larissa, and welcome everyone. I'm extremely happy to be in such a STEAM company. It's interesting, as I mentioned just a moment ago, the skills in demand today are coming back for all the people that we're looking at. And by the way, this is on a worldwide basis that we're seeing. We have at Robert Half over 350 offices, and we've grown this company to be not only the recruitment experts and professional staffing, but also we have a subsidiary called Protiviti, where we do managed services as well, combined with our staffing divisions. But on a technical side, financial modeling, forecasting, predictive based analytics are highly prized right now, cloud-based systems, as well as an accounting underpinning in order to help with the interpretation of the data. But as we've seen more technology, as you've heard from all the four presentations, as we've seen more technology being used in your daily lives, we have found that sooner in one's career, the non-technical skills are very highly prized. collaboration, as was mentioned. I think Sumit talked about building the right team with the 4 C's. I heard Fernando talk about people. Valerie talked about, I think she didn't use critical thinking skills, but I think it was embedded in there or implied. Industry-specific experience is highly prized, but we're finding that more companies, more of you, are willing to bridge the gap if they have the technical skills and the non-technical skills, and there's a continued commitment to continual learning. So, the types of positions that we're seeing in this, this pandemic world that are being prized are data analytics, cloud architects, cybersecurity experts, just to name a few, machine learning specialists. I would say that just it's just something to look at. All those aforementioned were highly prized prior to the pandemic. Now that we have work from home in much of the globe, geographic boundaries have been dropped for a lot of good candidates. So from a recruiting aspect, you could have somebody living in Kansas and working for you in the Bay Area, San Francisco or Los Angeles, for instance. It's really a phenomenon, I think, that's starting to catch hold as remote work and work from home is becoming more mainstream with many companies and predicted to be more mainstream. So next slide, please. As we look for building these skills in demand and for the future, I think it's really important for all of us, and I know that the previous presentations really looked at this, but focus on analytics, focusing on industry events in order to move ahead. For instance, like we're in today with this webinar, monitoring trends, volunteering for new projects, and last but not least, I believe it was one of the 4 C's as well with Sumit, was be curious. The individuals that we're seeing that are most highly prized by the best-in-class companies are, especially today in the pandemic, what I've seen is there's been this pool of candidates, these pools of employees that have been forced into remote work. We're finding that there's 2 classes, and it's becoming very apparent after a few months. One class is they're they're waiting to be told what to do. Then there's the one that are highly prized that I'm asking you to unleash. Unleash these individuals, because these are the people that are really moving forward for you. They're coming up with new ideas. They're using technology. They're using their minds. They're critical thinkers and problem solvers, and they're actually the ones that are helping you get things done. It goes back to the culture. I mean, one of the polling question was talent first and then culture was second. I was not surprised by that at all. Yes, all 4 were important that were on that slide, but you as leaders, you as employees, depending upon what category you're in right now, it's really incumbent upon you to move ahead, using the technology, using the tools, using your skills. And by the way, if you don't have the skills, it's incumbent upon you to upskill. Don't wait for your employer to upskill yourself. You do it. Be curious, move forward, and as if the bosses would say, unleash yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for excellent final presentation on the skills that are needed for this new journey. Valerie, I know how passionate you are about upskilling your team. Just 30 seconds takeaways from you on this session before we go to the Q&A and conclusions and recommendations. Valerie, what would be your key takeaway?
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more with Paul. I do think that being in finance, there's a lot of focus on what we do, but it's the how you do it that actually gets us to the next level. And be curious will really help you on the analysis you're going to take from descriptive to prescriptive. It's going to also help you problem solve, where we just saw from Paul, it's a skill and demand. And how to be that, you really need to be adaptable and work smart. I definitely think that when we talk about partnering and how we could work with the business, it's all about understanding the insight, understanding the story and the people. So all of that is kind of come back with the how skills that Paul mentioned about collaboration and communication skills. So great to see that there's a path to get there, and be curious is the core.
Thank you so much, Valerie. Thank you so much, Paul. And now before Q&A session, this is the time for conclusions and recommendations and key takeaways. Please start to text your questions. We already have quite a few. Even if we don't have enough time to answer online, we are promising to you that we will do this offline, and we will send you our answers by email. Now the time for key takeaways. The main conclusion that this is a journey for all of us, and companies are at different levels of maturities. There are sometimes situations when in the same companies, there are different business units at different level of maturity. And today we looked at some techniques, the important techniques that help us to move to the leading analytical stage. Sumit, what would be your 30 seconds key takeaways from your session?
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Larissa. Very, very helpful topic. So thank you, everyone. I think my biggest one is more on the talent side, right? Like, don't think of yourself as a finance function or FP&A function. Think of yourself as a business function who actually knows finance a little bit more. Continuously upgrade your talents and skills, right? Working very closely with your analytics team is actually going to be super important, and have a good pulse on what exactly is doing, right? Continuously upgrade your skills, right? Attend the right kind of conferences, meet the right kind of people, and constantly be in a journey of learning. I think that would be my key takeaways.
Thank you, Sumit. Now I would like to ask Fernando the same question, your key takeaways from today's session.
Sure. I'd say remember 3 pillars of success that we talked about: process, technology, and people, right? So it's very important to address all of them to get you the leading state in the FP&A analytics maturity model that was presented today. 2, I would say, once again, break down your journey into phases. So avoid scope creep as you go through your integrated FP&A journey. Be laser focused, stick to the plan. 3rd, I would say business partnering, right? Networking is essential. So collaboration with the key stakeholders across the firm is critical. And 4th, but not least, I would say implement a continuous improvement approach, right? Keep innovating. As we talked about many times, it's a journey. Thank you, Larissa.
Thank you so much, Fernando. Thank you for your key takeaways. And now, Valerie, your key takeaways from this session.
Sure. I would say that, first of all, build a culture around analytics. So forget the legacy line, but where's the future of finance? Get a vision around that. Make sure there's a single source of truth in your data. Make sure the data is ready for real time. Don't start big. Just don't rush things. Start with a proof of concept. Make sure you're looking at the right analytics that works for you for the process you need to get to. And yes, it's a journey. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. And you got this. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Now, Chris, what would be your key takeaways from this session?
Yeah, so thanks, Larissa. What I see is there's a bright future ahead of us, and where technology is complementing our skills, processes, and our expertise that us humans bring to the table. And I think we're living exciting times where there are solutions out there, where there's built-in analytics, predictive, and it's going to really change the way in which we plan. And I'm really excited for it.
Thank you so much, Chris. And finally, Paul, what would be your key takeaways and recommendations?
Yes, I would just say really quickly, the comments that were made before me, I would just emphasize, again, people, but also 2 other things: culture. And Valerie mentioned this, is, what type of culture are you building in your department in order to move it forward? And are you looking at the people before you bring them in to move that needle on the culture? Secondly, I would say always be curious, as we mentioned before, and curiosity is going to help you get to the next level, whatever that next level is. I'm seeing personally, and we're seeing at Robert Half, many FP&A directors move into the CFO suite. So if that's what your goal, this experience that's being gained, and you're on the cutting edge of helping lead companies into the future, I think it's a great skill set to expand upon. And I'm very glad that you're doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. Very inspirational. And now we are opening Q&A session. There are already a lot of questions. Please use your text box. A quick reminder that you can send those questions. If we don't have enough time to answer, the reminder is that we will answer offline. Sumit, we have the first question to you. Any comments on analytical transformation for centralized versus decentralized FP&A? Are there any changes in terms of analytical journey? What would be your comment on this?
So I'm more on the centralized side, and that's just based on what I've seen, right, all the way in the past, right? But we could develop a centralized model, we could develop a centralized way of thinking, and then basically disseminate it out, right? And then people can adopt or change it. But centrally, we should be providing a framework that's applicable at least 90% or so, and the last 10% should be customized.
Thank you so much, Sumit. The next question is to Fernando. Fernando, what are your thoughts on integration between BI and FP&A teams? Do you believe that there are synergies there, or should it be a part of FP&A experience?
No, absolutely. I think thank you for the question, Larissa. I think it goes hand in hand from personal experience, and I've worked with many different solutions over the last 30 plus years that I've been in finance, especially in FP&A. And the partnership that we talked about, the business partnering, the collaboration, the networking, goes hand in hand with the BI team, right? At least at Gensler today, I would say the fact that my FP&A team has been very technology savvy, helped us go through boot camps, learn the solution, be more self-sufficient, but it doesn't mean we don't collaborate. Actually, data integration, as an example, with many different data sources like ERP system, HR system, CRM solutions, it's all done by the BI and the business, kind of the IT team. So that collaboration that we do goes a long way as part of the journey itself. So it's not only about FP&A.
Thank you so much, Fernando. Thank you for your answer. Now I would like to ask Valerie. Valerie, the next question is for you, and it's about traditional FP&A culture. Don't you think that the culture of FP&A, traditional culture of FP&A, is mostly wrong? That budgeting and forecasting traditional processes are out of date? And actually, what could be done in order to avoid all of those political games and political wars to set the budget during traditional budgeting process? What would be your commentary on this?
It's a loaded question, so let me try to tackle all the aspect of it. So for me, the difference of traditional finance to the future of finance is the way we look at it. So example, we have data, assume the data is right, and we transform it to information. And how do you get insights to actually drive more decisions? And I think traditionally we were just reproducing data and looking at, differently trends. But now I think the future of finance is how do we get those insights? And the way you're going to get those insights is really, like I think we mentioned about, is partnering. How do you get those insights? You need to understand the business and the people, what they're doing, what their key drive it. And that helps with your integration of your full planning cycle too. And that's where I think finance and FP&A can actually bring more value. So close to the business, integrate it, focus on the insight, leverage technology. I think there's a lot of opportunity within finance to get there. And I think the challenge is how we approach it. I think it's all about a partnership. So it's more like what we show and understanding what they do versus being a bottleneck of resistance. I think there's a way of actually approaching it that makes a difference. And it comes back to what Paul mentioned about our soft skills of how we do this, being collaborative and partnering and how to communicate right. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you so much, Valerie. The next question is to Chris. Chris, the question is about FP&A technology. So how FP&A and finance team can convince exec team that it's important to invest, especially at the time when technology is getting outdated so quickly and the new solutions are coming to the marketplace. So how to deal with this?
Right. If you really look at the long-term ROI and you look at what other companies have done, you can really bring that, build a case, and as Valerie mentioned, also building that proof of concept, and then bringing up to your leaders. And it might not just be in finance; it might be working with the IT department, it might be working with the other parts of the business. But really building that case together and looking at the data. And for example, in our research paper, we can see how much benefits companies are getting, and you can look at different examples, right? And if you want to learn more, I can definitely send me a message, and I can talk to you more about it as well. Thanks for the question.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for your answer. Paul, the next question is to you. With the pandemic, are you finding less talent available as they're staying inside of the companies, or are key talents looking for a change and now available? Very interesting question.
Yeah, it is a very, we're finding that at least here in the United States, there's a Bureau of Labor Statistics report that comes out every quarter, and it's called the JOLTS report. The JOLTS report came out about a week ago. It indicated that employees and people are getting more confidence at looking at new opportunities. As a result of that, from a retention standpoint, you as management, you as C-suite individuals should be focused on what are you doing to hang on to your best people at this juncture. There's more opportunities that are being advertised. We're starting to see a tick up in that. The JOLTS report showed that. So I would just focus on retention efforts. There's been a lot that's gone on in this pandemic in terms of hits to the morale. Furloughs, reductions in forces, salary freezes. So pay attention to those must-have people because it is starting to tick up a little bit in terms of the opportunities that we're seeing advertised.
Thank you so much, Paul, and thank you to all our panelists for answering questions, and thank you for asking those questions. There are more questions, and we will do this, we will answer them offline. Just a reminder that the event is event diagnostic, that is why we are not answering direct questions about the technologies, but it would be in offline regime if you would like to, so people will answer your questions. Now I would like to update you on the next FP&A board. So upcoming North American FP&A board will be on October the 27th, and very interesting subject, soft subject about building FP&A of the future that is important for the time of new normal. So what is the new future FP&A team? Registrations already open. You can see the link to those registrations. And finally, I would like to say thank you so much to our fantastic, very skillful and very experienced panel for sharing their insights with us. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for spending this time. It was such a pleasure collaborating with you on this FP&A board. I would like to say thank you so much to our partners and sponsors. Thank you so much, SAP, our technology partner. Thank you so much, Robert Half, our employment agency partner. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for supporting our global initiative. And finally, I would like to say thank you so much to all of you for being with us. Let us stay connected. Let us think about the next steps in FP&A development. We are always open for your new case studies. We are launching artificial intelligence, machine learning research right now. Any case studies, any insights from your side would be really appreciated. You know how to find me. And of course, if you would like to speak at some of the next meetings, please let me know as well. We are about to close this webinar, but please stay because when we close it, you will have an opportunity to fill the survey for us to see how we can make it better. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much to all our participants and our panelists, our partners. See you next time. All the best. Bye.